Would you go just stand around? Just stand there. Welcome, everyone. I think we still have people in the kitchen, but hopefully they'll make their way in here. Welcome today on this New Year's Eve. I keep saying Christmas Eve. I guess that this week hasn't processed really well, so New Year's Eve. Here we are. Welcome, everyone, to our service this afternoon, and welcome to those watching virtually as well. We're so happy to have you. Let's see some smiles. There we go. Okay. All right, let's stand and sing our opening song to our service, Prayer of the Child of Love, right on the front of your songbook.
Your kingdom come, your holy will be wholly done. Spirit, source of love, you flow through me, your loving child, eternally, every day. In every way, amen. Every day, I will pray again. Father, Mother, God, your kingdom come, your holy will be holy. this my prayer again. Father, Mother, God, your kingdom come, your holy will be wholly done. Spirit, source of love, you flow through me, your loving child, eternally.
And I'll just quickly remind you that you have a card in your packet that you can use for prayer requests. We'll be doing a community prayer later in the service, and all those requests will also go on our prayer team list that goes out to everyone weekly. So if you have anyone you'd like to add to the list, please do that, and you can put it in the basket when John comes around later. So let us begin with meditation. I invite you to close your eyes. And as you do that, just begin to relax, and let's take 3 deep breaths together with an audible ah on the out breath. Let's breathe in. Breathe in. And breathing in one more time. Feel your body relaxing and your shoulders dropping and your jaw relaxing. Just follow your breath for a moment as we bring our mind down into our heart space. And this heart space is our focus right now. And as we go within, sometimes it's easy to see that inner space limited by the boundaries of our human bodies. But I'd like to ask you to let those boundaries fade away, melt away, and experience the unlimited and unbounded spaciousness within. At one with the presence of love. We feel joy in this moment. On this last day of 2023, we give thanks for every experience this year has offered, without exception. We give thanks for the experience of love and belonging and community, as well as every challenge and difficulty. We welcome them all. Opening our eyes and our minds and hearts to their gifts of insight, clarity, and wisdom. And on this day, as we prepare for another journey around the sun, it is our intent not to repeat the challenges and difficulties of this last year, but rather to unleash our imagination and creativity, to claim our freedom and to live from an expanded consciousness. Able to see anew. Birthing forth a deeper peace, a lasting peace. Birthing forth an unconditional love into this world. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you so much. And now we welcome Corey with one of his beautiful songs.
Thank you. All right, Brother Kai is going to talk to us in just a little bit about the wisdom of our old friend Don Miguel Ruiz of the Four Agreements fame, a man of deep compassion and authenticity. And I think the song speaks to that. It's one I've done before. It's called May My Word. I've heard it said that every thought becomes a wave of prayer, a resonance in sacred space that ripples deep and wide. But when that thought becomes a word and rings out through the air, the prayer expands in energy, becomes a thing alive. So may my word be kind, may my word be true, may my word bring peace and joy in everything I do. May my word be brave, may my word be wise, may it always seek a way to heal and harmonize. May it speak those things the world needs so much of. May my word be love. So once again, I might my mind, the seeds I planted there, the thoughts that grow and will inside become the words that bloom, that all the fruit of these my lips be sweet and good and fair, a garden full of heart-grown words that only love has room. Yes, may my word be kind, may my word be true, may my word bring peace and joy in everything I do. May my word be brave, may my word be wise, may it always seek a way heal and harmonize. May my word be merciful, may my word forgive, may my word encourage and embrace the life we live. May my word bring laughter, may my word bring light, may it always seek a way to help the world unite. May it speak in earth below like heaven above. May my word be love. May I speak the words this world needs so much of. May my word be love. Maybe so.
think we might have to have those words, Corey.
You shall.
Beautiful prayer. So knowing that we pray for all these things, and we know that love will guide us, let's stand and sing on page 32 together. Love will guide us. And then we'll stay standing for our greeting to each other.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from free to giving. Love will guide us through the hard nights. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from free to living. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Please say hello to your neighbors.
Glad you made it to Lansing.
I'm here and so happy to introduce our speaker for this afternoon, Reverend Kai Sorensen. We talked together a while back about this idea of the four agreements, and I mentioned to him that we had not too long ago gone through the four agreements together, but his idea was to take one at a time and take a little bit deeper dive into each of the agreements, which I thought was a really, really wonderful idea. So let's please give him a warm welcome.
Good afternoon. Hi. Good to see you all here. One of my favorite movies is a movie about a prize fighter who was the world champion. And he was accused falsely of killing some white people in a bar. Reuben Hurricane Carter served a life sentence. He was convicted, and every appeal that he made was denied. He wrote a book about his experience in the ring called The 15 Rounds, and that book became a bestseller, I think. Still, we got to be in jail, so get a lot of money, but you can't spend any money if you're in jail. 3 folks from Toronto, Canada, meantime, were adopting children from families who did not have the economic freedom to be able to give their kids the things that they wanted, and because of that, sometimes those children fall apart and fall out of the educational system, and so they would adopt the child and help tutor him through the process of graduation in high school. And 3 white Canadians adopted a black young man to come and live with them in Toronto. And as life would have it, boats would come in occasionally and they would go down to the docks, and there were big bins of books. And for 25 cents, they could buy one of those books. And so they would make sure that the children that they were adopting would have an opportunity to pick a book and learn how to read more effectively from that book. And their child picked Reuben Carter's book for 25 cents. And he read the book, he understood the book, and he wanted to meet Reuben Carter. So he wrote a letter to Reuben Carter and sent it to the jail, and Carter responded, "Thank you for your thoughts, kind thoughts." And the partnership started to connect, and letters went back and forth. And ultimately, the young man decided that he wanted to go and visit and meet Reuben Hurricane Carter in maximum prison in New Jersey. And so he did that, and they became fast friends back and forth. And after the second or third visit, he came home and he said, "We've got to get him out of there. He's innocent." 3 Canadians trying to get an accused murderer out of jail. And they did it. And they took it to federal court, where they were presenting evidence that would exonerate him. And the judge said, "Well, if you use this evidence, it'll never be able to be used again." And he stood up in the court and said, "That's okay, I'm already committed to life in prison, so whatever you say can't be that bad." And so the judge said, "Okay, well, let's just find out what's going on here." And so they had a little bit of a trial. He excused himself, he came back, and he released Reuben Carter. Meanwhile, when Carter was in a holding cell waiting to get the judge's final decision, the young man was sitting on the other side of the jail cell, and Reuben Carter said, "How did it come to get you here to maybe get me out of jail? What happened there?" And he said, "Well, I read your book." And Carter said, "Sometimes books find us." And that's what's happened for me. I've been through the process here to become an ordained minister. I've got 3 graduate degrees. I'm teaching for 50 years in colleges. Read a lot of books. My favorites are Johnson, Livingston Seagull, and Illusions from Richard Bach. But they do not stand as the best teachers for me, whether it's the Course in Miracles or the Bible or other written passages. Now it's the 4 Agreements. Corey contacted me and asked me what I was going to be speaking about so he could design some music that would fit for that, because he's done some investigating and is well aware of that, where the 4 Agreements come from. And they come from a tribe in South America and Mexico, mostly in South American. We know a lot about Aztecs and other tribes that proliferated in the vast majority of South America. But there's very little known about the Toltecs. They were educators, they were doctors and physicians, and their society was built upon that. They weren't going and attacking other groups and trying to claim more space or teach people their particular way because that's the way it has to be. What they did was that they discovered what has all of us, my belief now, that has proliferated the world and why we have such things as we do now going on. Whether it's the war in the Middle East or unknown wars in Africa that are taking place now, they had the answer to why this is happening. And Louise has written a book talking about what their beliefs were and how that impacts the way that we lead our lives today. And the primary piece of the first agreement, and I will read it to you directly. The first agreement is usually misunderstood. Be impeccable with your word. And that probably sounds to you, if you don't know, it sounded to me the first time I read it was, well, that means don't lie. Don't tell lies to other people. And that's not what it's about at all. It has nothing to do with that. It's based on the opening sentence of the book of John from the Bible, where he says that the Gospel of John, speaking in creation of the universe, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word is God. So if you go now back to be impeccable with your word, it's about being impeccable about the higher power. Whether you call it the God, source, whatever word you use to have that experience, that's what this is about. And so as I jumped in to the First Amendment here, or First Agreement here, I can tell you that I've been on this path now for about 3 weeks, maybe close to a month. I can't get out of Agreement 1. He's got a companion book that I got, and I said, maybe this will help me. I started reading it, and I got all the way through the 4 agreements, and I said, okay, now I can go on, because there's a book, the 5th Agreement, that has come out. And I said, there's a companion book. And I said, I want to read the companion book. And so I got the companion book and I started reading it. And the first thing it said was, if you've read the 4 agreements, go back and start reading them again, because now that you've done all 4, you can go back and understand 1 a little bit better. Well, I can't get out of 1. It's just kicking my butt. And what I wanted to talk to you today was a little bit about how what they talk about in the First Agreement is impacting us as a society and also as individuals. What it talks about in the First Agreement is the effect that society and culture has had on us, what we've created and what we have experienced in the creation of the cultures. And primarily, what that boils down to is that we have a judge and we have a victim. All of us have a judge and we have a victim. And that's where we live. That's how we've created our culture. And because of that, we don't get the word. We don't get to the word because from the time that we're each born, we are taught to have a judge. Now, interestingly enough, years ago I was in a relationship with a woman, and I was digging through some things trying to put some of my stuff in order, and I ran across a workshop that she had put together that I actually attended as one of the participants, and she called it the inner critic. So whether you call it the inner critic or you call it the internal judge, it's the same thing. It's that part of their little voice in our heads that says, we're not enough. And we've been taught that since we were little. That we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not educated enough, we're not enough. And so from that place, we judge others. So that's our judge or internal critic of other people, and what our experience is of people teaching us, teaching me, okay? So, as law of attraction would have it, because I haven't given up on law of attraction from everybody's questions that you might have, one of the things that Esther talks about is how we attract the vibrations in our lives, and those vibrations help us to increase the amount of vibrations and us to have a closer relationship with whatever we imagine God or Source to be. And so the challenge there is that I don't have any control over this. Because when I was born, I was adopted by parents that weren't my natural parents. So I was given up at birth. Now, I'm happy to say, and I think I've shared with you, I've found my dad, my actual dad, and I now have a half sister and 2 half brothers that I didn't have before in Oregon. And my dad had 5 sisters who got married and had kids. And those kids had kids, and those kids have kids. I have something like 1,500 hits on my 23andMe, and it's because of all of that. So most of my life I went through as an only child, adopted. My dad was pretty much an only child. My mom had a couple of brothers, or had a brother and 2 sisters, lived in Georgia, didn't really know them. I didn't have a family. Now I'm drowning a family, and they're all going to have a reunion. First time ever down in Florida this coming year. I'm going. And I'm working on my 2 daughters to go with me. Because they don't have all these aunts and uncles and cousins. They don't have all that on my side of the family. So that's my personal experience. But my actual experience growing up with my adopted dad and my adopted mom is very much interesting, because my dad was a pretty staunch Republican coming from Traverse City. You can understand that. My mom was a Southern Democrat at the time because she lived in Georgia and they met during the war. And so I had bounced back between whether, you like Republicans or you don't like Republicans, or you like Democrats or you don't like Democrats. And really, one experience of my life sums that up for me. When I was a senior in high school, I went downtown to Grand Rapids. In 1968, I was a senior in high school, and I thought Spiro Agnew was it. He was it. And I went to see him. He came to Grand Rapids, and he went to see him. I was like, yeah, Spiro Agnew. And about 2 months later, I went off to college, and Vietnam War, forget that. No more Spiro Agnew, Bobby Kennedy. So I flipped. And part of that process is, of course, of what I was being taught about that by people that I believed knew more about it than I did. And so that was my cultural impact on my judge, my inner critic. And so actually what happened was I changed inner critics. This one wasn't working for me, so now I'm going to have this one. Okay? And so what happens to me, what's happened to each one of you here and those of you who are watching, is that we have learned how to live our lives and be who we are thinking that we are, because how we're taught to be how society wants us to be. One of the things I was noting when I came in, while I was in the car before I came in, practical examples. Like I said, law of attraction's right there for me, so this popped into my Facebook page 3 days ago. 18 phrases parents shouldn't tell their kids. See if some of these resonate for you in terms of what you were taught, or maybe you have taught your kids. Wishing you were never born. Parents saying, I hate you. Can't wait till you turn 18 and go out on your own. Get rid of you. You're too expensive. You're costing me too much money to raise you. Life is too hard because I have you as a child. Why aren't you different than the raised? You're doing things that I never raised you to be that. Your effort isn't enough. You need to study harder. Or, well, I don't expect you to get a college degree because you're stupid and you have bad grades. Deanna, my girlfriend, told me a story about she had two classes, same teacher in school. And at the end of the semester, he came up to her and said, well, which class do you want to pass? Because otherwise you're flunking both. Why can't you change? Why can't you be the way that I want you to be? What's wrong with your body? You're way overweight, or you're too skinny. 20% of teenagers today have serious thoughts about suicide. 9% actually make an effort. In high school, 24% of females consider suicide because of the way they're treated and the communications that they get from other kids and parents. Gay, bisexual, 47% consider suicide because of how they're treated. You're ugly. You're really ugly. I don't know why anybody would want to marry you or have you as a friend. We're moving away and, goodbye. And I think the worst one is, I wish you were never born. And that's relevant for me because I was put up for adoption at birth when it wasn't available to my birth mom to have an abortion then. I might very well have been aborted. It was 1950. Illegal. I have found out that she lived in Georgia, but came up to Michigan to have the birth because she didn't want the criticism, how that can work out. So the point of the first agreement is for us to begin to understand what my judgment or my inner critic does, acts like, believes, and my victim signs in for how I'm being treated by others. So my invitation to you is to think about that, And I think that those of you who have been studying the Course in Miracles, I think that that message is in there too. Barb, it's in there, isn't it? Yeah, it's a part of the process. Any control over it. We had no control over the cultural issues that we've been taught because, you know, parents don't want their kids sticking a knife in a electrical outlet, right? So it's, you know, okay to help the child learn how to go through the process of fitting in, but when the process of fitting in overtakes that is 5 years old, what happens? My grandson was born 5 weeks too early. And my daughter took him, because he was slow in advancing, and took him to the independent school district in Ingham. And from 0 to 3, they have a program there for kids that can be not just some dropped off because the parents are working, but because they have experts there that help with whatever the child's issue is. So the ISD is a very welcome program, not only in Ingham County, but in other places, because they go in with try to help the child actually adapt and advance with language, with speaking, with writing, with understanding even what's going on. I mean, they're not teaching them the way to be the rest of their life. They're just trying to help them get to a place where they can be, I guess, assisted in the process of integrating into the culture. And I was experiencing that when I would go and see them. I mean, it was very hard to understand when he was starting to talk, and I didn't really know how to use the language that my daughter had come to use because of how he was doing it. And so she would sort of interpret it for me as he was trying to communicate. And she took him until he turned 3 and was now able to start experiencing what interaction he would have with babysitters or his family. And we met him the last time I spoke down in Jackson. And we met at the Fratellis in Jackson, and they came down and we sat at Fazoli's, and I thought they'd adopted a different kid. I mean, he was jumping around the restaurant. He was happy. I could understand what he was saying. I mean, it was just like, really, it's another kid. I mean, I was just so excited about it. I was just like, wow. And, you know, he's 3.5. And so what's he do? He loves life. He dances around. He talks. He plays. He loves Super Mario. Oh, my God. And then we decided to help him because he watched Jurassic Park, and now he loves T-Rexes. So I got him those kinds of things for Christmas. And trucks. He just loves trucks and cars. And he's just alive. And I'm going to help him with his mom and dad not let him lose that, because that's what we do. That's what we do. And there's a story I wanted to end with that I just read recently too. There was a girl who couldn't sit still in school. And she would sit in school, and she would get up and she'd go to the window and she'd look outside during class was going, and she wouldn't pay attention to the teacher, and so they had a lot of trouble with her. And she was always going to the principal and having the parents come in, and there just didn't seem to be anything that was going to stop her from getting up and walking around and then singing a little bit and dancing and those kinds of things. And so they took her took her to specialists to try, and she just wouldn't stop. And so eventually she kind of pared it down a little bit enough for her to be able to go on and have a successful life as a choreographer on Broadway. And she designed the choreography for the play Cats. She never gave up being 3. I don't want my grandson to grow up, stop being 3, and I don't want to stop being 3 myself. So if you are interested, Mary doesn't know this, I've bought 5 books of the 4 agreements, and I'm donating these to a fellowship, and I'm going to ask that if you are interested, that you would come and offer whatever you can afford to get that book and to start, as I would say now, to walk through the looking glass that Alice did and see what's on the other side. So see Mary if you want to get one of those books, negotiate, and whatever Mary does, you know, she's pretty tough. I'll also tell you that I got them all at Five Below in the Frandor. They cost $5. And so that would be, I think, a fair price. And if she runs out, don't worry, I'll bring next time when I'm talking about the second agreement. Any questions you guys have about the first agreement that those of you who maybe have some familiarity with it, is there anything that anybody would like to add or ask about? I'm certainly not a great expert, but the one thing that I think is really the key here is to understand Louise and where they came from. The Toltec, is it Nagag?
Yeah, pronounce it however you want.
Yeah. It's Toltec. That was the tribe in South America. And there's a lot about them out there, about what they did, and eventually what happened was some of their brethren decided that, you know, this beautiful Garden of Eden, they want to run things. They want to have an army to defend themselves or to do whatever. Barb?
Mary, I have a question. I was just going to say,
Sure.
just quickly, because we're running low on time here.
Okay.
If you had to summarize, you know, in a couple sentences, what would you say?
Well, I've got a lot written down, but here's what I would say. I'd say something that I've said to some of my classes. I'm teaching communication. And what I would say to them is, we have many not magicians, but musicians in our midst. We have wonderful instrument players in this room. And my question is, Julia, have there been any new notes? Has any new notes been recognized? I mean, new notes that anybody knew before, have they? Music, yeah. There's no new notes, are there? Right? There are new notes. They're just notes, and the way that we organize the notes is how we have the music, right? Yeah. Well, all of the notes, and look at all the music we have. What's the difference between all of that music? It isn't the notes. It's the space between the notes. that makes the music. The space between those notes makes the songs. Between your judge and your victim, that's the first agreement. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Douglas, for reminding me. Okay, so this is the time in our service when we stop and fill our hearts with gratitude, and it's such a timely thing today as we fill our hearts with gratitude as we look forward into this next year. There is so much to be grateful for. So many loving people around us, so many beauty, so much beauty around us, so much love around us, especially here at the fellowship. And we are so grateful to you all for your donations that help us continue the work of the fellowship. And so as you are preparing your gift, or whether you donate online, I'd like to ask you to hold the fellowship in consciousness and your gift to the fellowship in consciousness as we all together see this beautiful community moving forward into this 41st year and beyond as we are able to come together in this way. It's so important. So John will be bringing around the basket. Please remember to put your prayer card in there as well. And we will sing together as this goes on with our gratitude chant.
Grateful, I am grateful. 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 Grateful, I am grateful.
And I invite you to read with me the blessing of our tithes and offerings on the front of your bulletin. The light of divine love shines eternally, blessing and multiplying our tithes and offerings. I joyously give, knowing I always have enough to share and to spare. Thank you again. And let's go within one more time here. Bring our attention to our heart space. as we remember all of the beautiful beings that are remembered in this basket today. All of you who hold these special loved ones and friends close in your hearts. Let us pray affirmatively, seeing them well and cared for, healthy and safe, finding clarity, resolution, and wisdom, and feeling love in their hearts. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to let Corey go ahead with his song, and we'll continue on then. Thank you, Corey.
It's called The Family of Everyone. We must come together as one people with one heart. We must work together to heal the world, to make a start. We must love each other. Now the age of forgiveness has begun. We must hold all people in the family of everyone. We must learn together of our unity deep inside, bound in spirit forever, knowing love will be our guide. Though we're all like different planets, we circle round the same eternal sun. We belong with all people to the family of everyone. Now we join together as one people with one prayer. May our song fill earth with heaven, bring peace and freedom everywhere. May we never cease believing this sacred work of angels can be done. As we draw all people into the family of everyone, in the family of everyone, with a family of everyone.
announcements, and I'm glad Sue's here. Are you on for the walk? The first Sunday in January, 12:30, Waldemar Nature Center with Reverend Sue Quinn. Walk through some beautiful nature with her, and not sure what the weather will be like at that point, but whatever it is, she'll be there. And next Sunday we have our burning bowl ceremony, so hopefully you'll all join us for that very conscious and intentional release and manifesting ceremony. And Julie Dillon's Healing Movements every Monday evening at 4:30, first of the year, so you can get your exercise going for this whole next year. We tend to do that, but let's keep that going. So thank you again for joining us today. Thank you all who are watching virtually. Let's get into our peace circle and say our closing blessing. And then please be sure to join us for some dinner afterwards in the social hall.
You did it.
Well.